What's up, y'all? Part two of Shoe Booty Sports here. Graham Powell on this screen and the Arkansas Travelers hat, Bradley Brown on the other, and the Arkansas Razorback hat. Okay, I've touched up on everything Arkansas Razorback football until we see what they can do on Thursday. And anything to add before we move on, Brad?
No, I'm excited to see what they're going to look like. But who knows how long that excitement's going to last. So,
Yeah, I'm excited to see Petrino's offense back. I'm excited
yeah,
about that. There's only going to be improvement, I would think, from the squad. But we're gonna see. We'll see what happens. I thought Petrino at A&M would be a big hit last year. It wasn't. It didn't work. Of course, Jimbo probably didn't want to, just hand things over completely to Petrino. And I don't. I will say that about Sam Pittman. I think he realizes what strengths he does have, and he's going to hand that over to Petrino. He gave him the
yeah,
keys and said, probably said, "Save my job." You know,
yeah.
I just don't think it'll be enough. But we touched up on that in part one. All right, let's move on to part two. First of all, going back to the Florida State and Georgia Tech game. Did you see the Georgia Tech throwback linebacker number 44, Kyle Efford?
I did. I did.
That's
He had the neck roll and everything.
that was the thing. I mean, having the neck roll is key. Uh, being a linebacker 20 years ago, I guess 20 plus years ago now. You had to have the collar. You had to have the cowboy
Yeah,
collar. The neck roll was too much for me, but the
yeah,
cowboy collar was perfect. I could still like actually move my head around in
yeah.
that thing. Didn't we have somebody that had a neck roll?
The only one I remember having the neck roll was Culver. He was older than us.
Yeah, I want to say like Jacob Oates or somebody had one. It just looked like you wouldn't be able to move
Yeah.
your head well
It,
enough with that
no,
thing.
you couldn't turn it side to side.
Yeah, it was too much. Like with the cowboy collar, though, it was perfect. You could still move your head around, and you put the jersey over the collar, so it basically looked like the same thing or pretty close.
It never stayed over the collar though.
It
At
didn't.
least mine didn't.
Mine did for the most part. I mean, looking back at some of our film, I want to say it was still on there for the most part, but I don't know. I don't recall. Didn't examine it that closely. But it was cool to see a throwback style linebacker for Georgia Tech. Of course, them being the smash mouth style of football that they play, it makes sense that they have a linebacker that looked like that. And that's what linebackers used to always look like up
Yeah,
until the last 10 years or so when offenses became pass happy and linebackers started to look more like safeties.
yeah,
Linebackers were like they. I remember my freshman year at UCA, just looking at like the student newspaper. The middle linebacker they had was like 350 pounds,
dang,
but but not like a but not like a fat guy. Like he wasn't like a lineman. He was just built like a brick house, and that was the middle linebacker. Uh, you don't see that anymore. The University of Alabama has linebackers that are like 220 tops, and they run 4.40s. You have to be able to run now in today's game.
yeah.
So it was cool to see a throwback style linebacker like Georgia Tech has. I'd say will it be as effective against other schools? I mean, heck, it was Florida State. I mean, they looked. That's the thing. Florida State looked really. Uh, they didn't look good offensively, but Georgia Tech had kind of had a lot to do with that too. So you got to give them some credit there. But that's been the evolution of defenses, and especially at the linebacker position. You wanted a big physical dude like Georgia Tech has in your linebacker spot, especially there in the middle or at least on the strong side.
Yeah.
But with today's passing game, they're smaller and they're smaller and therefore quicker usually.
Yeah.
Um, I even noticed that when I was a reporter. I mean, that trickles down to every level, all the way to the high school level. There was a kid there I did a feature on when I was a reporter, and he played, I think, the same position I did. I think he was a strong side linebacker, and he was a lot smaller than I was. Of course, I wasn't big. I mean, I was a buck 75, 5'10", buck 75. But this kid was, I
You
mean, he
weighed
was
more than that, right?
no, I was a buck 75 my senior year.
I thought you're like 180, 185.
I was 175 soaking wet senior year. Um, but as no, this kid was even smaller. But he was fast. I mean, he was fast, and he could drop into coverage, and he could move around pretty well. And he was a good player. He was a good player for Lono. Smart kid too. Um, can't remember his name.
I think you gotta be somewhat smart to play linebacker. So
Yeah, you do. You gotta be the smartest dude on the field. At least I'm a little
yeah,
biased though.
yeah.
But yeah, he
You're the
was.
quarterback of the defense. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
you're calling the shots out there. But I mean, that kid he was a smaller guy, and but he could run, and so that I could run okay, but not I wasn't a corner out there.
Yeah.
Dropping back into coverage wasn't my strength. Um, but that's at every level, from pros all the way down to high school. But it's most noticeable at the collegiate level for sure. All right, so okay, other notable games this weekend. You got Florida and Miami. Miami is the only one of those two ranked. This is going to be, I think, a make or break year for Billy Napier.
It's gonna
Uh,
be a break year. it's
I think so too. I don't see how
it's
you turn
gonna
around.
they have a tougher schedule than Arkansas, so it's gonna be a break year.
Yeah, I don't see how you turn this around. At least this year, and it's not looking good. We haven't heard any talk about Florida, like any kind of momentum as far as potential that they can be good. But Miami is they're not as good at they're never as good as people think they are either. So I mean, who knows? Florida might upset them, but then they could go turn around and lose a bunch in a row in SEC play. So
Yeah.
still, it's Florida and Miami. It's not Florida and Miami of the '90s or early 2000s, but it's still Florida and Miami. So probably be worth checking out. The big one is Saturday morning, Clemson and Georgia. Of course, Georgia, top ranked team in the country. Clemson, not where they usually are since NIL and transfer portal has come into play. Clemson is ranked 14th. Um, and I mean, they just haven't looked like the Clemson of, I mean, it's hard to duplicate Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, those years,
Yeah.
national championship years, multiple. And yeah, but it's still Clemson will come out prepared. They'll come out prepared and probably put up a good fight, but I don't see them being able to match up with Georgia. Still a big
No.
game, one I look forward to watching. And uh, okay, other games we talked about Notre Dame, Texas A&M, and they're all kind of like right after each other too.
Who do you
Um,
think gets that one?
Notre Dame and A&M.
Yeah.
Uh, that's tough. If you're gonna hold my feet to the fire, because I mean this is a podcast and we're gonna make predictions. I will say who's even the coach at A&M. I mean, I know they made a hire, but I don't know the guy's
I'm dang it, who is it?
name. Exactly. We know our stuff here on the sports show, y'all. I'm going to go. I'm gonna go Texas A&M.
Yeah. Oh, it's Elko. Mike Elko.
I don't even know who that is. Where was he? Where did he come from? You say that like I should have known. Like, oh, okay, that's who that is.
When he from the did he do some NFL?
I don't know.
Heck, I don't know. It was a big hire last in the off season.
Yeah, I'm sure he's qualified and all that. I just couldn't tell you anything about him. I'm going to say Texas A&M. I think if Notre Dame beats them, it'll be close.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with A&M as well.
And I think it'll be close too, probably if A&M beats them. But if Notre Dame beats them, I think it'll be a close game. But yeah, I see Texas A&M winning that. The Sunday game, LSU and USC. That should be interesting.
He was at Duke. He turned the Duke program around. Elko.
Okay, not bad, not a bad hire. Yeah, I feel better about that pick now. Texas A&M, USC, and LSU. Who do you have in that one? No Caleb Williams.
Ah,
Still got
I'm
Lincoln Riley.
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna stick with SEC and go LSU. So,
Same.
is it at USC?
I don't. I think it's a neutral site. I think it's in Vegas.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's in Vegas.
I don't know, man. That'll be an interesting one to watch.
I mean, that's closer to Southern California, but
Yeah,
yeah, it'd be worth checking out. I'll say LSU just because I mean it's Brian Kelly. He wins everywhere he goes. LSU should have the better recruits, but I mean Lincoln Riley can coach, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, I got LSU in that one, especially with that pass rush. Caleb Williams ran for his life last year, and I don't see how they could turn it around like just that quickly. The offensive line needs, especially when you got guys on LSU's defense, edge rushers that can run 4.40s. Yeah, I got LSU in that one, but it might be a close game. Either way, I'm gonna go Tigers. Okay, another big game in state schools playing each other in Arkansas. UCA and Arkansas State. That's a Saturday game. I'm not going to watch it because I think it's an ESPN Plus game.
yeah.
But it's a game that can be interesting some years. It's more interesting when UCA wins. I'm a little bit partial because I did go my freshman year to UCA. My parents went to school there, so I like UCA and I always root for them.
I think they'll
But
get it done this year.
yeah, I don't think they'll probably won't beat Arkansas State. I mean, Arkansas State should win, but I mean, there's going to be years where it is competitive and UCA will beat them. But I don't know. Because UCA is a smaller school.
Yeah.
Um, Arkansas State should win it, but it'll probably be interesting for a while. I would check it out if I had ESPN Plus. I did at one point, but I don't anymore. But it's one to keep an eye out on if you got ESPN Plus or if you want to get it. Okay, what are we missing in college football this weekend? Any big games? Because that's the thing. Like Ole Miss is playing like Furman. I mean, you got a bunch of duds like that.
Yeah. It's week one, man. It's not a whole lot of exciting matchups, just a handful of them. So that's probably it.
Yeah, I mean Georgia Clemson's the big one, but I mean you got LSU, USC on Sunday. Florida State plays again Monday on Labor Day. That's the thing, Labor Day weekend, y'all. So I do get Monday off, so I got a 3-day weekend coming. Looking forward to that. But we got a lot of the week left too. So yeah, but we do have a Monday game. I don't remember who they play on Florida State, and I want to say I wrote it down. I don't see it anywhere. Either
Boston
way,
College.
Boston College. That's it. So yeah, Florida State and Boston College on Monday. So this is the last week without NFL games, right? All right. So this is the weekend for college football. So this is the week to check it all out. All right. So having said that, moving on to the NFL. NFL news: Bo Nix named the starter for the Denver Broncos. Who didn't see that coming, right? Um,
Even Zach Wilson saw it coming. So
yeah. I mean, it's I don't know. I see this. I know it's early, but I see this working. I mean, Bo Nix showing how good he was at working the last 2 years, especially last year. You got Sean Payton coaching you. You're not a typical rookie quarterback having all that experience under your belt going into a system like Sean Payton's. I see this working. I'm not saying he's gonna have a superstar type of season this year, but I think this is gonna work. Of course, I
yeah,
said that about Russ too and Sean Payton, and that was a disaster. But this is
yep,
this is Sean Payton's guy. I Bo Nix isn't going to request his own office or things like that or his own position coach. I think this can work. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Fun to watch. Uh, shocker, Jerry. In other news, shocker, Jerry Jones pays his marquee players. CD Lamb gets a $136 million deal. So who knows how much money is left to throw around after just paying Dak and him. Um, I mean, he deserves it. CeeDee Lamb
yeah.
deserves it. I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just saying, Jerry is GM. We've seen the results of that.
Yeah.
We
It
know
broke
how
down to what, like 2.5 million per month he's going to get paid. It's not bad.
it's a
Not bad
pretty
at
good
all.
month. Pretty good
Yeah.
month to
Like
have on
60 something dollars a minute. Just think about that.
pretty good.
Yeah.
um, all right, so CeeDee Lamb gets paid. I mean, good for him. The Patriots are moving on from Bailey Zappi, so no more Belichick and no more position players like this, especially at the quarterback position. Gerard Mayo apparently moving on from Bailey Zappi. And I don't know if Drake May has been named the starter as the favorite, but I would assume he's probably going to be the favorite to get the starting job. Who else do they have? Stidham? Is it Jarrett Stidham?
No, Stidham's not there. Uh,
He's in Denver, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, who do they have?
I want to say they had the Tennessee quarterback. They drafted him. I saw him in the preseason. JT Milton, is that his name?
Yeah. So I want to say one of them was a dual threat. So
It was him. Yeah. Well, Drake May is going to win that job.
yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I would imagine Drake May could easily plug in and play. Why not at this point? I saw this today after I'd already printed off the topics list. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. The Chiefs have waived Kadarius Toney,
Oh,
who
brick hands. That's
yeah had nothing but low lights last season after playing well in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. Had nothing but low lights last season and was inactive throughout the playoffs. A healthy scratch for the Chiefs throughout the playoffs this past season. So to no surprise, or at least it shouldn't be to maybe to Kadarius Toney, but not anybody else. The Chiefs have officially waived him, and um, so the Washington Commanders. I want to talk about them for a little bit. They've named Jaden Daniels the starter. He didn't even play this last preseason game. Why are you making that face?
I didn't hear that they had made him the starter yet.
Oh yeah, he has been named the starter. Um, Dan Quinn, the coach there in Washington. I think this is the franchise to watch out for. Not necessarily this year, but moving forward. Of course, new ownership group, and this ownership group includes Magic Johnson, right? Of course, they've got a majority owner, but you've got other owners involved. One of which is Magic Johnson, and this group of owners has shown via the Dodgers that they are not afraid to spend money in order to win games and also just give the franchise a boost. Washington is one of the teams that are looking for a new stadium, or they're wanting to have a new stadium built. They're hoping that can get done by 2030. But in the meantime, they have spent $75 million in stadium upgrades for this season, including improvements in the food service, security entry points, which will allow fans to get through the gates quicker, just making the overall experience better. And I mean, the group has just shown an immediate interest to improve the franchise as a whole. I mean, and that obviously includes winning, and they're not afraid to spend money to do that. This could be a club to watch out for in the next several years. Not there yet, but if you're Jaden Daniels, you have to like where you're at in the situation. Like I could not have gone to a better situation. Like if you're ever going to go to a Washington football team franchise, this is the time to do it. No Dan Snyder, completely new ownership group that is more than willing to spend money to put things around you, to put what's necessary around you to be successful. So something to think about moving forward. Okay. I was cruising, so I've been catching up on Max. I've been catching up on House of Dragon. I'm over the halfway point. It's of season two. I think there's only 8 episodes, and I'm on like 6 or 7. I got like 2 or 3 episodes left. Awesome show, by the way. Highly recommend. But between that and Silicon Valley, I see Hard Knocks with the Chicago Bears, and I'm intrigued by it. I like the Hard Knocks shows. I have not looked at the
Yeah.
end season one. I have enough streaming options. I don't need another Hard Knocks. Even though it was the Dolphins, like that's probably the one like I would have liked out of all of them. But for whatever reason, I was just like, it just didn't appeal to me. It's like we're in the season. I'm just gonna watch football.
Exactly.
I don't like the Dolphins enough to know to. I like Mike McDaniel, sure, but I don't necessarily. I'm just gonna watch the games. I don't need to see what's going on behind the scenes of just this one particular team. I'm good on that. But any interest in you don't have Max, do you?
I do not know.
Okay. Would you have any interest in checking out Hard Knocks with the Bears?
I would, yeah. I mean, if it was still, if it's preseason time, I've got interested in watching any of the Hard Knocks. They're usually pretty good, and even if I don't care about the team, it's scratching that itch for football. I mean, of course, I want to watch it.
I've never cared about any of the teams on Hard Knocks,
Yeah.
but they're all good. Like they're all good.
Hmm.
Well, I say that the Jets was interesting last season, just with Aaron Rodgers. That was very interesting. Of course, we know how that ended, and I think I had like 1 or 2 episodes left, and then Rodgers got hurt, and I was like, "Well, there's no need for me to keep watching."
Yeah.
I lost interest at that point. I would be interested in checking it out. Caleb Williams is not only very talented, but he just seems interesting to me in a sense that I think he like plays. I think it's safe to say he'll play like a certain role, like in front of the cameras, just to mess with people. Like holding hands with the guy after people calling him like gay or something, and he's just holding hands with the dude, just
He
to
carries
basically
around a purse, man.
just to like stir the pot or play into it, you
Yeah.
know. Like, and to me that's funny, but also, I mean, dude's mega talented, and also saw this today. The Bears ownership group said that they're not having their players like curse or anything on the show because they don't do that and don't want their players to be doing that, something along those lines. Like they don't want them representing the Bears in that way, which I think is kind of neat, because it's. I mean, remember the Jets one with Rex Ryan? It was just F this, F that, and Tony Dungy was like, "Yeah, you don't need to do that to get your point across," which I agreed with. I mean, that's Rex Ryan; he can do what he want. It was his team at the time, but at the same time, I can understand why you get criticism for it too. So I kind of like that. Uh, just has a certain class to it. So I'd be interested in checking it out. I just don't know that I'm going to make time for it between the other options I have. So we'll see. But okay. Want to talk baseball a little bit when we still have time to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Baseball it up.
I mean, because we're about to get into football, and until the World Series, baseball is about to stop being kind of relevant for a while. I am going to a Travelers game next Friday, so I'll get my baseball fix there. Until then, we'll do that now. Okay, big news. Shohei Ohtani became the earlier this might have been over the weekend. Can't recall, but Shohei Ohtani became just the sixth player in Major League Baseball history to hit 40 home runs and steal 40 bases. 40-40 guy in the season. He's the sixth. Can you name any of the other five? I was able to name two of them.
Uh, Bonds and A-Rod.
Those were the two I got. Those were the two I got. I thought Griffey would be in there, but he wasn't.
I would have thought Griffey would be in there.
Yeah, but Bonds was easy, because Bonds was
Yeah,
like a
super easy.
yeah, yeah. Bonds is the only player to have 500 and 500, 500 home runs, 500 stolen bases. I don't think there's even a 400-400 club. I think Bonds is the only one in that too, and Bonds
Yeah,
is 500-500. So there's that. Um, I also would have thought like Willie Mays. I said that, and he wasn't on that list. All right, these are the others. Okay, Ronald Acuna Jr. For the Braves, he did this last season. Who is a very good player. The other, I'm going to give you hints for these other two. Okay, think of late '80s steroid era, like beginning of the steroid era. Um, Kind of famous dude, has done some very quirky stuff since baseball. Wrote a book that got a lot of people in trouble.
Seiko.
Yep, 1998, Jose Canseco. Which Canseco actually told the truth in that book. From the sound, it's like
Yeah, he did.
he told nothing but the truth as far as we can tell. So he at least did that. But yeah, Jose Canseco in 1988, um, in the 151st game. Okay, the other I feel like I probably should have gotten this, but he did it with the Nationals. And in 2006, he became big with the Yankees, second baseman. Yankees, early 2000s.
Did it with who? The Nationals?
Did it with the Nationals, but I knew him best with the Yankees. Alfonso what? It's been so long you can't even remember it. Alfonso Soriano.
Okay.
Okay, you remember
Yeah.
him now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Alfonso Soriano in 2006 with the Nationals. When I saw that 2006 with the Nationals, I was like, man, I'm getting old. Okay. All right. So the Little League World Series concluded over the weekend. Lake Mary Little League out of Florida beat a Chinese Taipei team 2-1 in extra innings to win the Little League World Series in Williamsport over the weekend. The only game I saw that the team play, they got smoked essentially by Texas, and then came back and beat them. But the game that they lost to Texas was the one that I saw, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So kind of cool to see the highlights of that. I did not see the game.
I didn't get to see the game, but the highlights are pretty cool. They forced extra innings in the ninth, and then walked it off with a bunt down the first baseline and nobody home at first, and they just throw it away. And the guy
Yeah,
scores from second. Now, you don't see that every day.
no, and I don't know. Little League is the most fun time to play baseball and the most enjoyable time to play baseball. So that's something they'll obviously carry with them, forever. Um, just winning the Little League championship twice in Lone Oak was a big deal to me, so and
Yeah.
still something I remember. So imagine doing the World Series, like that's wild. Um, but yeah, congrats to them. And uh, less congratulation type of thing for the Chicago White Sox. They, as of today, or as of this morning, I don't know how they did today if they played. They have a record of 31 and 101. So they have lost 101 games this season, just won 31. And for context, let's look at some of the worst records in MLB history. I was able to print some of those off.
Pretty impressive getting triple digits in the loss column.
Yeah, it's pretty. It is impressive. A friend of mine played in a volleyball uh, match over the weekend, and it was just she's not a scholarship player, pro, or anything like that. Obviously, just like her friends or I guess she was on a team with people and they played a team that was better. Played to 15, they lost 15-1. And I was like, that's kind of hard to do to lose that badly in volleyball. The other team usually serves one out or something.
Yeah.
No, they did get that 1 point via an ace. So it's like if you're going to get a point, I mean, that's the best way to do it. Sure.
But until like a hit in the net or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of impressive to lose 15-1. All right, so minimum 150 games played. This is where they start this off. The 1899 Cleveland Spiders are officially the worst team in league history with most losses in the season and win percentage. Win percentage of 130. They were 20 and 134.
Wow.
Yeah, and the most recent, the others are like early 1900s, and I mean the New York Mets in '62 were 40 and 120. But of the modern era, you've got the 2003 Detroit Tigers, who were 43 and 119, and you've got the 2018 Baltimore Orioles, who are right up there with the Yankees right now, leading the AL East, but they were 47 and 115. So a 290 win percentage. And remember the Astros several years ago, right
Yeah.
before they got good? I mean, I'm not saying Chicago's going to do the same thing, but this is obviously not the. I'd go nuts if my St. Louis Cardinals were doing this, who are now officially a game below 500. So not
Yeah.
thrilled about that. Cubs have even overtaken them in the Central, but nobody's catching the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers have as good of a record as just about anybody does. So they've really turned it up, and all without Christian Yelich. So Milwaukee's comfortably got that division, unfortunately, and have for a while. Okay, WNBA stuff. The Indiana Fever schedule. I mean, they're going to be on TV quite a bit this week. Let's see. They play tomorrow. Tomorrow night on NBA TV at 6 p.m. against the Connecticut Sun, who has the second best record in the WNBA. And they play again Friday at Chicago Sky. So another Caitlin Clark Angel Reese matchup that we get to see highlights and maybe talk about next week. 6:30 p.m. on the Ion Network. And the Fever play again at Dallas on Sunday, September 1st at 3 p.m. So, and they looked really good against the Seattle Storm when I did see them play. Of course, we touched up on that last episode. Um, all right. Any golf updates, Brad? I saw there was something going on over the weekend, so we can get out of here on that if you want to.
Yeah, sure. The FedEx Cup FedEx Cup playoffs are
The what?
2 weeks underway. Yeah, FedEx Cup playoff. Started off in Memphis a couple of weeks ago, narrowed it down to 70 players. Then last week's tournament narrowed it down to 30 players. And so those 30 players this weekend will be squaring off normal format. They'll start on Thursday, play through Sunday. The only difference is that the number one player, of course, it's Scotty. He starts off at -10, just from the get go. So automatically gets a 10-stroke lead on everybody. Scheffler, I think, is at the number 2 spot. He gets a 9-stroke lead on everybody. The top 30 is closed out by Justin Thomas, I think, and I think he starts off at -1 or even par. So only 30 players playing this weekend. So yeah, should be could be fun to watch. I mean, Scotty could just not let anyone get close to him, so we'll see. But it'll be a big payday regardless. Some news from the weekend. Bradley, he won the tournament.
Won the tournament. I didn't know you were in the tournament. Why didn't you tell
No,
us? Should have
Keegan
started the
Bradley.
show with that.
Yeah, Keegan Bradley won the tournament over the weekend. Which is pretty
Keegan.
cool to yeah, Keegan Bradley, which is pretty cool. I think it was his 8th win on tour. He's been on it for a while. Um, there were some animated scenes over the weekend. You got to see Rory throw his driver that ricocheted off of a utility box and landed in the pond. He was able to recover it. But I think on Sunday he actually did like break it in half or something. He broke his driver and was stuck with his 3-wood for the rest of the day, I believe. Um, so yeah, got to see some interesting things, and there was some controversy. Forgot who it was. Cracked their head of the driver. And the rule is, if you crack it unintentionally, break it unintentionally, you can replace it during the round. Um, but the rules official looked at his club, said it wasn't detrimental to his club, so he wouldn't let him replace it, which upset him and I think Scotty, who was playing with him. And then he proceeds to, yeah, just deliver a snap hook out of bounds, and then mouth something off at the official saying you don't think it's broken. But yeah, that's about the only drama that happened over the last weekend. So yeah, playoffs in golf, man. Who would have thought?
Well, if you don't think it's broken, then don't try to fix it, or whatever, however the saying would go in that situation. All right.
It,
Well,
it was broken. You could see the crack on the head. So
all right. So there goes golf with Brad. That was hope it was enjoyable for you all, as it clearly was for me. Um, I
trying to
jest.
condense it down into 2 minutes, man. It's tough.
No, you nailed it. All right. So part one, part two. That concludes part two. We'll be back next week with lots of college football talk and probably seeing what we think about our Razorbacks and then some. But until then, we're
Yep.
going to get out of here. I'm Graham Powell. That's Bradley Brown. Deuces, y'all.
Peace.